Hey listeners, you're listening to the Midnight Readers podcast. Grab some tea, a midnight snack, and cuddle up in bed as we dive deep into today's most popular fantasies, sci-fi, and mysteries. We're your hosts. I'm Lily.
I'm Brittany.
And I'm Christy.
This season we'll be discussing the heart-pounding military fantasy that's part Hunger Games and part How to Train Your Dragon. That's right, grab your flight jacket, we're headed to Basgiath.
A dragon without its rider is a tragedy. A reader without their book or this podcast is dead. Welcome to the revolution. My best advice, don't die. And don't worry, we most likely won't eat our allies.
In this episode, we'll be discussing Book 2, Iron Flame, chapters 51 through 66, where, despite the Assembly refusing their call to aid, Violet and the gang face a horde of Venin head-on to protect the Vale when Basgiath's wards fall.
Before we get into it, this is your warning for major spoilers ahead. This includes potentially all Empyrean series materials. We're also avid fans of the Moss universe and might accidentally let spoilers slip for other popular romantasy book series as well. Sorry in advance, like the books, this podcast is rated R, so be warned.
Also, a friendly reminder to please like, subscribe, and follow. You can find us on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and YouTube. You can also join our growing community on Patreon for bonus content and more.
Last we left off, Violet had just found out from Garrick and Bodhi that the Venin have taken Pavis. Nyra has died, and she takes some chocolate cake up to the roof where Xaden is brooding. He says, "What did I tell you about risking your life in order to talk to me?" This is like the third time that comes up, and I feel like it might be a little bit of foreshadowing. Every time she's like, "I'm not risking my life." But much like you're going to be the death of me, some people think that this might be what happens.
Okay, Brittany, I'm sorry, but I'm laughing because the way that it's written, Nyra has died and she takes some chocolate cake. And I was like, what?
Violet takes...
Sorry.
Okay, but I love that she brings the chocolate cake to him because isn't that so cute?
It is. And she's like, "I know this doesn't help, but I got it for you when I just thought you had a shit day." It's very, very, sweet and very normal of them.
It's like the most domestic that these books get. You know what I mean?
Well, there's actually a couple of domestic ones, like when they're sitting in her room and she's reading her books and he's polishing his weapons, and they're just like...
I don't know why, but that just doesn't stick in my head like this scene with the chocolate cake. I don't know. It's very sweet.
It's probably...
I think because he's never had this before.
Yeah. And it's probably something we've all done when we notice that a loved one is not having a great day and we're like, I'm just going to do something small and thoughtful to make their day better.
And it makes him feel like really human because Xaden is so fantasy character.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, there's so little about him that feels real sometimes. And I feel like the fact that he likes chocolate cake and she brings him chocolate cake kind of dispels the mystery a little bit.
Yeah. The goofball. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Xaden does admit here that he thinks that they are 50 years too late to win this war. And I found that interesting because one of the headings, I believe it's chapter 45, says, "It was only in the last 50 years that we realized they were no longer solely coming from the barons." So he thinks they're 50 years too late, and it's within the last 50 years that they started recruiting. I think that's
why? It's just interesting, like, why did he say that?
Yeah.
Does he know that?
Who noticed 50 years ago that this was happening?
It was Captain Lyra Dorell's book, but we don't know if it was her. And it's a Paromish book. It's property of Cliffsbane Academy. So, but it makes you wonder what changed 50 years ago.
Or did somebody do something 50 years ago?
Like Warwick?
Well,
I don't know why, but...
Warwick is 600 years old.
I mean, I get that, but at some point, they liked each other. The six did enough to work together. But at some other point, they also understood that they wanted very different things because of the way the journals are written. So could this have been a point where Warwick was breaking from the others?
Well, I'm saying, like, the Warwick lived 600 years ago. This is 50 years ago.
I don't know why, but Melgren comes to mind.
They do have that heading where they're like, the moment that Melgren... And how old is he? It might have been around the same time.
Yeah, that's what came to my mind.
Okay, wait. But you were saying Lyra 50 years ago.
Lyra as in Lera, not Lyra.
Oh, okay. Then never mind. That's what I thought Ly. And I was like, it doesn't make sense, Brittany.
I know. She should really pick different names. Because I had that.
Or call him something like Lyra.
I had that same thought.
Lyra.
Well, I thought that Lyra is Lyra.
It might be. I might be pronouncing it.
Okay.
Like Lyra Balakwa from the Golden Compass.
Okay. We'll go with that. I like that.
Yeah, at least then they're a little bit different.
And Christy doesn't get confused because God knows that is not hard.
I mean, like Brittany said, they're really close.
Yeah. But it does beg the question, what happened 50 years ago to make things change?
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Warwick, let's talk about his journal. She does realize that she's mistranslated it a little bit. And I do have a little nitpicky thing here. And it's going to seem really petty because it is. But whenever they finally get the full translation and it says translated by cadets Violet Sorengale and Dane Atos, he translated one fucking word. I mean, seriously, does he really get credit for that?
You know Violet would give him credit.
I mean, we don't know how much background work he did.
Yeah, but she translated everything except for 2 words, and that's blood, that she changed to breath. She figured that out. And Iron Rain, he figured out that it was Iron Flame.
I don't think that's what the book says. They work on it together, coming up with the words and the base for understanding the translation. And then we're given the unfinished translation. And then she changes 2 words.
Yeah, what I mean is when she first translated it, she translated this part. And then so she did all that translation and she got 2 words wrong. One of which she corrected and one of which Dane corrected. So I just don't think it's fair to give Dane credit for translating 1 word. Because she did the rest of that.
He met with her and studied with her and looked at it with her for hours in the library.
I get that, and he gets credit for helping translate the rest of the journal, but she did this one. That's just my little petty thing against Dane.
I disagree.
Fine. He can have credit for the rest of it, just not this. In my opinion.
Well, that's the thing for Warwick's journal, though, is that, and I can't remember who it was that remarks,
Dane.
but it says that it was a Dane that said it was so much more casual, that there's phrasing in it that's so much more casual in the rest of the journal versus the part that's really important. Yeah. So did he even write that? Did he steal it or copy it?
It makes you wonder because in Lyra's journal, other than the 6 and the 1, it is the exact same phrasing.
Which, okay, if we're going to be petty about the shit in this chapter, I could not get over the fact that in her first translation, when they first try to start the ward near Arisha, she did not catch that it says the 6 and the 1. Are you kidding me? The 6 and the 1 is 7. The 6 and the 1. Who is the 1? What do you mean she translates this whole journal and then misses what it says? I don't understand.
She kind of implies that she thinks the 1 is the stone, the wardstone itself. I missed that my first read. She points to it and says the 1. And the whole time I read it, the first several times, I was like, why is no one addressing the 1? Why?
It's just weird phrasing for her to consider that it's the stone.
Yeah.
And I know she's probably thinking that because there's no other alternative, but at the same time, it's just weird.
Yeah, especially since the phrasing is the one combined, which is not in Lyra's journal. And if you think about in Darna's breed, they camouflage, so they're all the colors combined.
And doesn't she know at this point that she's potentially a seventh den?
No, not when they're working on the wards in Eratia.
No.
She does when they are working on the wards in Basgiath.
Right.
Okay.
But it just was frustrating me.
Yeah. Oh,
it was frustrating me.
Trust me, when I first read it, I was on and on and on. Like, why are you ignoring the one? Why? Does nobody notice that there's a and the one? Little silly point. Do you think when there's a thing about a heading for Warwick's journal about the thing that kills love is opposing ideologies, do you think that he had a relationship with Lyra?
That would make sense. Especially with the phrasing and his sounding different in the important part versus the rest of it. It would make sense that she added to his.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the only indicator, I would say, because we don't really know anything about them, but just because of that, maybe.
What if they had a baby?
A baby?
They do say that they had messy relationships.
What if it's Xaden's ancestors? He came from Lyra and Warwick. I don't know. We may already know his, but anyways.
If not Xaden's, then who?
Yeah, I mean, what if the 6 became the dukes of each providence? Because I think there was, so when they talked to Auric about being no writer has been king, and then Violet was like, that's not exactly true. And they said most of the time, a writer does not, or aristocracy does not go to the writer's quadrant because of the concentration of power. What if they were the original dukes of their providence, the first 6?
Well, I mean, that makes sense. There's one from each province, and, I mean, the head of the province, it tracks.
Well, we're guessing on that.
Yeah.
We only know about 2 of the 6 right now.
If not the heads, then they're the representatives of the province.
And somebody's got to be the descendant. I mean, unless they just stopped having babies. So, okay. So speaking of the wards, Violet figures it out, and she thinks maybe we shouldn't raise the wards because there's ethics involved. And she didn't want to tell Dane because he'd follow the rules. And I was like, what fucking rules?
I was kind of surprised that she thought that Dane wouldn't. I don't know. I'm kind of surprised she thought Dane would be a pain in the ass about it, because I feel like at this point Dane is seeing the light. You know what I mean? Like, he's seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know if he would have really argued with her on this point. The rules
have led him astray in the past. You think that he would be more flexible?
I don't know. Maybe he would have, but I was kind of surprised. And also, I mean, I thought it was good of her to go out of her way to be respectful to flyers.
Whereas I mean, and I understand that, but I took a different look at it. Like, what is it? Spock, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And
well,
so there's like 100 flyers in Eratia. There are civilians without power.
Yeah.
There are flyers. I feel like there should never have been a question of whether or not to raise the wards.
Well, the way I see it is the wards were going to be raised. She was basically telling the flyers ahead of time, hey, this is going to affect you. I want you to know so that if you want to leave, you have the opportunity to leave. And this is fairer than if we just spring it on you and you don't have the ability to make that decision ahead of time.
Yes, I agree.
I definitely agree that they should have done it either way.
I agree. I think that telling them first is the right thing. It's respectful. First of all, I don't like Kat's reaction. You're gonna make us powerless? You can still learn to fight, bitch. Violet went out of her way to make sure that you could still fight. But
Okay, about Cat, I feel like if they did that to you, you would have had the same response.
But think about it. I mean, if I'm giving up my power, I'm also gaining safety-ish because the Venom can still wield within the wards, just not as great.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I think that, I don't remember who points it out, but they were like, you can go back to Poor Meal and have power and dark wielders, or you can stay here and learn to fight.
Yeah.
And not have dark wielders. Personally, I would take the not dark wielders.
Yeah.
I don't want to desiccate.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just saying her response to being kind of immediately like, oh, you're going to take away our ability to defend ourselves? I feel like I get it.
I wonder, though, would runes still work?
I would think so, because in Navarre, runes work, because she had that dagger with the unlocking rune.
So they could still potentially, even though they wouldn't be able to wield their power, maybe make runes?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't be powerless.
You're thinking about this logically when Kat's response is emotional.
Okay. All right. On to the dream. We have a dream here. And she's on that sunburnt field again, which I think we talked about it a little bit last time, but it just makes you wonder, where is that sunburnt field?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it the Barrens? Is it a projection? Is it a real place?
I think it's the Barrens.
That I could see that.
I feel like the Barrens is going to be a lot more important than we've kind of seen so far, because it seems like a lot of stuff is continually pointing to it.
It's brought up a lot, and we never go and visit, which, of course, there's a reason why we don't go visit, because, Venom, but maybe they could fly over.
She does note
right?
that the Venom has tan skin, which I noted just because I want to know who he is. You know what I mean? I'm just like, any little thing I can grab.
Yes, and I did note that he has purple robes instead of maroon.
Yes.
And then, the Venom that shows up at the end of the book in the battle has royal blue robes. So is it the same Venom?
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't know if it is either, especially since that Venom at the end of the book claims to be a general. But
who is the one who watched?
Exactly, is that the general?
And why
supposedly?
Why did they say it like that? It could be said any other way. The one who watched is also super creepy sounding.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Resson was almost a little bit for the Venom, like a test. They were called there, but also like, let's see what these new candidates got. And they're like, yep, I want to recruit him, and I want to recruit her, and yep.
Well, I mean, if you figure that they have been kind of in the background, and I think, Brittany, you brought this up in 5. I think it was in 5. And I don't think I caught it before, but you had mentioned something about the fact of, they say that they're looking for the weapon that destroyed the Venom. And you were saying, but did they actually destroy them? Or did they just weaken them and they're biding their time? Which, if he's watching, then that would fit within that theory. And I thought that was a really good catch, that they did not destroy them. So perhaps whatever weapon that was, it wasn't actually good enough to take them out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is also this theory. She notices that the Venom's breath smells sweet. So there's this theory that sweet breath or sweet things are venom coated.
Interesting.
So
Ew.
like the very first sentence in this book is, revolution tastes oddly sweet. And the elixir, I think it's the antidote, tastes sweet as well.
I don't think
Has it got venom bits in it? So if you bit a venom, would it taste like candy?
I don't even want to think about it.
Do they get their goo over stuff? Drizzle their goo on bread, and now it's like sweet cinnamon bread?
Why did you say it that way? Why?
Well,
Why?
blowjobs in the Venom world must be so much better.
Jesus Christ. Only fans, but for Venom? Only Venom?
I would not let a Venom put his hands on me.
Drizzle his goo. I can't even fucking say it. Jesus Christ, Christy. We're what, 20 minutes in? I can't. Oh my god. That's killed me. Taken me out.
Just like the elixir kind of was like that poison the Venom had on their dagger, maybe the antidote has something to do with the Venom. Maybe when they channel, it is something similar to that antidote.
I'm so sorry. I'm not over it still. I'm sorry. It was so casual the way you dropped it too. I'm so tired. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, you could be right, Brittany. Oh, God.
Drizzle their goo.
Nasty.
Should put that on a shirt.
Venom goo?
Oh, man.
I take the supplement. That's what it's making me think of. I take the supplement, the Venom goo.
Oh, man.
Jesus.
Okay.
Is this brain rot? Is this what this is?
I think so.
Okay, let's move on. Okay. Oh, man.
So before she tells anybody about the fact that she has solved the mystery of the wards, or so she thinks, they go on this rune hunt. And of course, she is saddled with Kat and Vicia and Sloan.
Okay, this is one of my favorite scenes when they go into the cave. One of my favorite scenes in all of the series. I don't know why. I think it's just something about it stands out. You know how we were talking about how we didn't remember like 3/4 of the stuff in Iron Flame, or at least me and Christy didn't. Brittany, on the other hand, has probably listened to the book 7, 8, 9 times. So, not talking about Brittany here. But me and Christy did not remember most of the stuff from Iron Flame, because a lot of what we remembered was, Violet and Xaden bitching at each other. And I remembered this scene so clearly. This is the scene that stands out in my head when I think of Iron Flame. I don't know why. I think 'cause Solace.
It's a good scene.
I remember exactly what I was doing when I was listening to the scene the first time. Literally laying on the couch, pacing, and then getting up, pacing my kitchen back and forth, texting y'all like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And yeah, it was a great scene. And the audiobook narrator does really good with brushing up the tension.
I also love how they portray Andarna, because Andarna is such a little teenager in this book, but she still sounds like a baby. It's so funny with the way she talks back to Taryn, and I can
like
just see
12-year-old.
Yes, yeah, like she's still like a little baby, and she's so confident now because she's getting her wings, and she's getting her teeth and her flames and whatnot.
I am a dragon.
Good thing you're not the head of my den then, which I immediately went, oh, interesting that she pointed that out, because as we know at the end, technically she is the head of her den, right? If she's the only one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And actually, Vizia points out a really good question, or asks a really good question of Violet. She asks if she'll get 2 signets because she's got 2 dragons, but we know of others that have 1 dragon and 2 signets. So if she's got 2 dragons, could she have 4 signets?
I feel like I don't think Rebecca Yarros would do that, but it's a good question. It's not out of the possibility, but we know that Taryn bonded to Naelin before, so I don't think she'll get 2 with Taryn.
And Darna is only 2 years old when we first meet her, so...
True, so
she does not have an ancestor who she previously bonded.
So it's unlikely.
Wait, she doesn't, but what if would it still work if one of Violet's ancestors, I keep wanting to call her Violet's, bonded and Darna's ancestor? Would that still work?
No.
I don't think so.
It's too far back.
And especially since Darna was left 650 years ago. So yes, if an ancestor that old bonded, it could potentially have bonded the ancestor of Andarna, but I doubt it.
Yeah, but at that age, couldn't they have bonded like Warwick or Lyra or one of the other six?
Yeah, but then Lyra or Warwick or whoever would not be the father or grandfather of Violet regardless, so it wouldn't work. That's the only time that you can get a second signet.
It has to be direct familial line.
Or grandmother or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
It's too far away.
Damn.
I would think it would probably be too far away. But, and Sloane drops this information on us that if the only way a second signet manifests is if you have a direct familial line. Why does she know this? Why did her dragon tell her the secret dragon knowledge?
It's a good question.
Especially,
you had already said that Liam had two, right?
We
potentially. But the thing is that the dragons are very secretive. So I would think that the only reason a dragon would impart this knowledge to their human is if there was a reason for it. And her brother doesn't, I hate to say that, her brother doesn't factor in at this point. I almost said he didn't matter, but he does.
Liam.
Yeah.
I think we're supposed to believe in that conversation that she's saying this in reference to a conversation that she had with Quinn. But I think that's
she says her dragon told her.
She does?
She does.
I was going to say it was a red herring, but I don't even remember reading that her dragon told her that.
It's the first time we learn it's her dragon's name.
What's her dragon's name?
Like perhaps her dragon is a Chatty
Thoit or something like that. It's
Soy?
really, it's THOI something.
Thoy?
Yeah, maybe her dragon is a chismosa, a gossip.
But it just brings, I thought about it because Rebecca, we've talked about this before, Rebecca Yarros did say that the dragons may potentially be lying about their name, which then messes up the rosters on who is bonding a dragon that might potentially have had an ancestor.
Makes sense.
Bond.
Makes sense.
I mean, we look at Xaden, they thought that his uncle, his great uncle, bonded, and it was actually his grandfather.
Right.
And that brings up my other question, which was kind of like, what the fuck? When she is talking about Quinn, she describes her signet as not entirely different.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too.
Like, does that mean Quinn has something that is like astral projection?
It's interesting.
And, or has, you know how there's different types of intrinsic?
Right.
Maybe there's different types of astral projections and she has two of them or something like that.
It is noted at the end of the book in Xaden's only chapter that his signet is empowered after what happens at the last battle.
Yes.
So makes you wonder what kind of things can happen to your signet based on so many factors. The dragons, the venom, how many things can change your signet?
Yeah.
Also, this is technically not that important, but can I just say this is the scene where I start liking Kat and Sloane? And I know, because I kind of want to hate Kat a lot, but when you start imagining her as Azula from Avatar: The Last Airbender, it's really hard to not hate her, because I kind of love Azula, even though she's crazy, batshit crazy. But I love that Violet looks at Kat and is like, so protective of Sloane and is like, you want to pick a fight? You come at me. And I think Kat respects her for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she also gives Vissia some respect as well. Mm-hmm. And Sloane actually says, you know, it wasn't fair of my brother to put my life on yours because you're already carrying so much.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very mature of Sloane.
It was very sweet, and Violet gets all, like, teary a little bit, like a little emotional.
Yes. And I want to point out that I better not hear another word from Kat about her saving the rider over the flyer, because she saved her life, Kat's life, over Visia's, and Visia does not make it out of this cave.
Yeah.
But I also want to point out, since y'all gave me such shit about it last episode, not really, not really, but this is the kind of thing that makes them a group, that bonds them, that cares. Well, they went into battle together. They had trauma. This is the type of thing that will make them a group, a unit. And I'm not saying that they should have to go fight dragons every time, but I just, they're more respectful of each other after this incident.
After they roast Toasty Friend.
Damn.
I'm pretty sure Visia is not going to agree with that.
I do not retract my statement. I think that there's many ways to bond with someone, and you do not have to have trauma. I mean, trauma is a fast way to do it, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of ways they could have bonded.
I could agree with that in the real world, but these are people who are enemies, who are living in war-torn worlds, who face death and potential dying every day. I think
we can't argue about the logic of the parapet and then say this isn't the real world.
Well, to be fair, I think from what Brittany's saying, the aspect that is dead on is the fact that I think Kat had to see that Violet would stand and fight, and that, you know, she helped her, and then Kat came back and did the same.
I agree.
Which does build those bonds.
Yeah.
The Flyers...
Is it required to be friends? There might be something fucked up if that's the only way.
The Flyers have this mentality of, you left us. We can't trust you at our backs. You let us suffer for all these years. And so the only way I feel like logically for them to move past that is for them to have the Flyers' backs.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to trust one another.
Right. So I want to know how Solus got into this stupid cave. How did he find them?
I just can't imagine how this big-ass dragon... I mean, I know that giant caves exist, but I can't imagine in my mind a big dragon shoved into a cave, you know?
Yeah. Varys probably threw some hamburgers down there.
Hamburgers?
Solus was like going to find them. Poor little Solus, little one-eyed Solus. I mean...
Poor.
I know we don't like him, but I felt a little bad for him.
I also felt bad for Solus. I know that he might be evil, but it's kind of like watching an aggressive dog get hurt or like in trouble. It doesn't feel good. Yeah, the dog was attacking someone.
Fault.
Yeah, but something about it.
In this world,
so
the humans are the pets. The dragons are in charge.
Yeah. I guess, but I mean, Varys was controlling him for so long. And
that's true.
We don't know.
Varys was a little bitch.
Yeah, like we don't know what Solus has been through at this point. Yeah. And then he dies a terrible death.
Although we do learn in the end of where Jack is like killing his dragon, Fade's eyes are glazed over.
Yes.
And it made me wonder, she never looked in Solus's eyes. Or eye. So
I
want to know.
Yeah.
Was his eye glazed over?
It would make sense. But and this was the part, if I was reading it correctly, that Lily, you were right about how she used the daggers to kind of steady and stream her power.
I saw that comment in our notes, and I don't know if she did that in the book. I think she threw the conduit and used the conduit, which was smart.
Yeah, she stabbed it. I thought she stabbed him in the belly with the conduit.
Yeah, and then she uses her lightning through the conduit, which that makes sense. But I don't remember her using her daggers that way in the book.
Okay. Maybe I read it wrong.
I'd have to go back and look. Maybe she did, but I don't. Do you remember that, Brittany? I don't remember that.
I may have assumed it was the daggers.
I know that Kat was shooting arrows at Solus, but I'm not sure.
I thought she was using her daggers as a conduit to kind of channel her energy without it going all over the place.
She could have.
I just remember thinking like, oh, Lily was right. Like she actually is doing what Lily suggested.
I don't recall that. I'd have to read it again.
Okay.
I know she throws the daggers and she misses the first time and lands the second one. Mm-hmm. And then...
Which daggers did she lose?
Yeah. I don't know which ones, but it's such an interesting fight because Andarna is... First of all, oh my god, Andarna shielding them. Badass. Of course. Violet's like, oh no, she's gonna get hurt. And Taryn's like, she's fireproof. She's fine.
Yeah.
But then Andarna just like throwing herself at Solus is like, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? She's so brave.
Well, she kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah, she does.
She slaughters him and then comes out like, hey, how's it going? What are you doing?
She's awesome.
I'm going to say something slightly controversial, maybe, potentially, I don't know. Violet kind of treats Andarna the way Dane treated her in Fourth Wing.
But Andarna is actually a baby, and Violet wasn't.
She is, but Andarna is also a dragon.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but going up against a much bigger dragon that is not a baby.
I agree. I think Violet should back off a little on other things.
She should.
Yeah, that's fair.
You can't come with us. Or,
yeah.
Wait a minute, yes I can. I'm a dragon. Why don't you stop me?
Yeah.
But she is a baby, though.
She is. She's a balance. Maybe Violet needs a little more balance with
Agreed.
it.
And I'm not, I don't think she's as bad as Dane. But she does tend to tell Andarna
what to do.
Her limitations.
Yeah, she's not going out of her way to manipulate Andarna into not being involved. She's just telling Andarna, I don't think you should come for your safety.
Yeah. Yeah, which is kind of sad because, I mean, that's what has been done to her from people's assumptions. But
she needs to realize that she can't just see Andarna's limitations, though. She has to trust that Andarna can take care of herself.
Well, I think that's fair. I think that the dragons are reflections of their riders. I mean, when Taryn and Sigale start fighting, it's a reflection of Xaden and Violet fighting about really similar things.
Yeah.
And I think what I realized on this reread is that Taryn and Sigale haven't been bonded that long. They haven't been mated that long. And it's kind of implied. Because he says later, so-and-so, these two dragons have been bonded for decades. Yeah. And I thought that was really interesting because I never really picked up on that. And it's just like, oh, okay, so they're a lot like their riders in the sense that we're seeing their interactions reflect Violet and Xaden.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, was Sigale bonded to Taryn when Naolin was his rider? Because Taryn went to war. Where was Sigale? Do we know?
I mean, that's a good-ass question.
And where the fuck is Taryn this whole time? At the fucking crafts table? I mean, Jesus. Why is this the, third or fourth time where he's been like, oh, I'll be there in a few minutes? It doesn't make sense. How can he cut hours off of flight times for everywhere else, yet he is a hopscotch away, and it takes him minutes to get his ass up there?
To be fair, he couldn't make it to the cave anyway because he wouldn't have fit.
He could get a leg down there. Or an arm. Something.
I do think, in this case, I do agree with you. Especially on the fact that he's always, coincidentally not present. I do think in this case, sometimes I forget stuff like this or fights like this happen in a matter of minutes.
Seconds.
Yeah, seconds, minutes. It's all happening super fast. It's just because we're reading it that it feels like it's not. Because I think she says in the book that Solas's dragonfire lasts 10 seconds. Which I sat and counted out. And I was like, that doesn't seem very long when I was thinking to myself. But I was like, I bet for that 10 seconds she felt like she was going to die. You know what I mean?
That is 10 seconds it should have taken Taryn to get his happy ass up there.
Was it 10 seconds or 10 heartbeats?
Could have been 10 heartbeats. I thought it was 10 seconds.
I think it was 10 seconds, but now that I'm thinking back, I was like, she usually measures things in heartbeats, so it makes me wonder. But I think it's 10 seconds.
I think it's concerning that you know that, generally.
Well, you know.
She usually measures things in heartbeats. What? Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Impressive, though.
Speaking of measuring, counting things, what was Kat counting?
You know what I think she was doing? I saw your question in the notes. I think, I could be wrong, but I think she was doing what Violet does when she's focusing. Instead of repeating back history, she's counting.
Well, she needs to learn to count. She went 90, 100, 101.
We just might not hear all of her counting.
I know.
Oh my God.
I know.
That's what I thought.
I was
It's
just
a haircut
like,
all over again.
I was just like, what is she counting? Is there like some explosion that's gonna happen, or
yeah, mm-hmm.
is she counting?
She's counting the beers on the wall.
Counting the beers on the wall. Counting
the beers on the Another thing that I thought was interesting about this is, and I could be totally overthinking this, but because Sloane manifests her signet in this scene, she thinks that she's turning into a Venin because she doesn't realize that she's siphoning, not what's the word? Pulling
Channeling.
power, channeling. Yeah, channeling. And it just made me think about the fact that Venin channeling and siphoning are definitely like two sides of the same coin, and how we kind of discussed that with Naelin a little bit, because the idea that he could have siphoned so much that he became a Venin. And I don't know, I just thought that was interesting because it's like this moment of panic for her, but it didn't really hit me in this until I reread it that she really thought she was becoming a Venin.
I do think it's also interesting that this is the first time she uses her power, and she manages to keep Violet alive by siphoning her power and making sure that she doesn't burn out. And the second time she uses her power, she ends up killing somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting. Jesus.
Not on purpose, of course, but
how awful.
Yeah, think about the mentality. For the first time you use your power, you think you're a Venin, and the second time you use your power, you kill someone. I think that's a little traumatizing.
Yeah. Can't be easy.
Hopefully she doesn't go like Dark Sloane.
Dark Sloane.
We already lost Liam. We can't lose another Mari.
Amari.
Well, that doesn't mean she would be dead, but if she went kind of dark with her powers, then she could always come back from that. But that might be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little like, and then,
Like Xaden, we know he's gonna.
Yeah.
He's gotta be cured. Well, speaking of Xaden, we do learn his second signet. And I gotta point out, they're in his room after this battle. And he comes storming in and confronts her. And they have a fight, of course. And she asks him, "What's your second signet?" I have a small little rant. First of all, I again say, the ask me thing is dumb and stupid, and Xaden is so wrong for that. But I do get it a little bit more because I think he's trying to capture that moment back in Fourth Wing when she decided after Montserrat that she wanted to get to know him more, so she kept going, "What's your favorite food? What's this? What's this?" She kept asking him questions. I still don't think the ask me thing is right in any way. And I get that, I hope that's what he's trying to do, is to recapture that feeling, that moment, but he is going about it the wrong way. Another slightly thing about it is she asked him, "What's your second signet?" And then literally 2 seconds later goes, "See, you didn't answer." She shocked him to his core. He never thought anybody would figure it out, not at least, consciously, maybe unconsciously, like she points out. But give the guy a second to answer. That's my rant. Is I think he's wrong, but I also think she's being unreasonable with her. See, you never answer my questions.
I'm going to let you take that, Lily.
I think Violet has been one of the most patient partners with all of this bullshit. Because not only does he come in here and get mad at her for saving Kat, which one is funny but stupid. And then two, then he tells her over and over again, ask me. And then she finally does, and he's of course taken aback. And she gives him the opportunity to answer. They just don't get to it
she doesn't.
Until later.
She literally says, see, you never answer. She says, I see that he's shocked, his face, he's composing himself. And that's when she's like,
yeah, well, I would feel the same fucking way. I would honestly feel the same fucking way if I was Violet. I would have ended it before this if I was Violet. I would have been like, you know what? I'm not going to wait around for you to be vulnerable and offer me anything. Because it should be, that's how a relationship should be. You should be able to offer up, things like that. I understand him not telling the intrinsic thing. His life was on the line. But there's a lot of things he should have told her before this point. Like, whenever she starts asking about Lilith, he's like, are you ready to ask me about your mom and I's pact? That shit pissed me off, because it's like, oh, she knows, but you're not going to talk to her about it? That's petty, stupid shit.
I agree. Again, I said I think he's wrong. The thing is that I identify with Xaden so much in this because I'm not a natural sharer. I know y'all probably don't think that because I share a lot with y'all, but it takes me forever to start sharing. I know, and again, I know that didn't happen with y'all, but I am not the type of person who, when I come home, my parents have to ask me, how was your day? For me to even say anything, unless I'm so angry that I walk in and I say, I hate people. And then they have to, prompt me to say more. And, that's just the type of person that I am. I'm not a natural sharer. I don't know how to say that better, but I have to, and yes, the way that mine and your relationship went, Lily, where I knew you for, I don't know, a couple of weeks before I was like, you're my work wife and I'm going to start telling you my whole life story. You also shared with me, and that made it easier for me. I don't know. I'm frustrated because I think Xaden is in the wrong here. I do. He should not do this whole ask me thing. They should have by this point, I said in another episode that he shouldn't be expected to have told her about the Venom thing because their relationship wasn't that long. But by this point in their relationship, yes, he should be opening up more. But it is also more difficult for somebody who has kept their own counsel to open up.
I do understand. However, as Violet, as his partner, he should be more willing to tell her things. And also because of the trauma and the situation they are in. But I will walk it back and say, on the intrinsic thing specifically, I understand him not sharing it. Other things, I'm like, no, this is absolutely ridiculous. If I think about it too much, I want to rip the book up. You know what I mean? When you're reading it, you're just like, this is infuriating.
I get your point of view. I understand why he does what he does.
I think I'm also just ready to fight today.
I mean, I understand both aspects, although I think, Brittany, you kind of made an anti-point, because when you were talking about Lily as your work wife, you stated that you shared everything with her, thereby showing that once there is a relationship important enough, that you will automatically choose to share that information Therefore, Xaden should have shared everything.
I wasn't going to point that out. I was just going to let her have that.
I get that. But she also shared with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Violet is sharing with Xaden her whole life story.
I don't think she is, but I think it's more of it's a tactic that she's using to protect herself because he's not sharing. I think she seems to be a little bit like, well, that's fine. If you're not going to share with me, then I'm going to hold things back from you.
Yes.
But I think if he were to share everything with her, I think she would return the favor.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, you are right. Whenever when you open up to me, I open up to you. I mean, the same goes for our relationship. We didn't know each other that long before I was telling you about my whole life. But and you're right. It is about special relationships, but there's give and take. Because my natural instinct, I mean, my parents are, they should be in that, special relationship, but I'm more likely to tell y'all something than I am to tell them.
Yeah. I think you're just really protective of Xaden.
Me as well.
Is it?
I get it.
She's just biased, and I get it.
I mean, okay, so when she's talking about his mother lately, he also doesn't answer right away, and in that instant, she's like, okay, give him some time. It's not a subject that is fun for him to talk about, so he had to...
Yeah.
But I think as the
together.
girlfriend, the other one was more important as far as answer right away to show me your love kind of feeling. And the mom is just like, you don't want to answer? Okay, no big deal.
Well, when you're shocked and you're taken aback, sometimes your words just fail you.
But two, I feel like in this instance, this conversation, she's making a point. You know what I mean? She's making the point that, oh, he wants me to ask, but he's afraid for me to ask. Just like he thinks that I'm afraid. So it's very much like a two-way street.
And I get it. And like I said, I think Xaden is in the wrong here. He should not do that whole ask me questions.
Yes.
And it's weird because he does like write her notes and offer up information, but then he's also like, you have to ask me. So it's a little contradictory.
Yeah, he just needs to make up his mind and stop being silly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that whole instinct to share your life, I guess, is not something... I've been told that I am independent to a fault. Let's just say that. I don't think independence is a fault, but that's just me. Okay, so while the Wyvern are coming... They do have this conversation where she is going through every single signet, or not really every single, but trying to guess his signet. And she mentions sound seekers.
Which we're definitely going to see again. We've gotta.
Yeah. It answers my question last episode, I think it was, where I was like, how are they communicating from long distances?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yes, if you're going to bring that up, of course, I think we'll see that. And it's the second time that is brought up. You can't see the future or you wouldn't have taken us to Athbean.
Right.
According to Jack, that's not a signet, but it's the second time it's brought up. And if you think about it, General Melgren's signet is kind of...
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Even though it's specifically about battles?
I would say that's
it is
precognition.
It's still seeing the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So...
And also, there's no way that just isn't a signet. You know what I mean? Like, it's gotta be.
Yeah.
That's too crazy.
Yeah. It makes me wonder who's gonna get this signet.
If you can erase memories and, get rid of stuff.
See memories?
In the past, then someone's gotta see the future. It's inevitable.
Yeah. I will say this. Rebecca Yarros was talking about distance wielding.
Mm-hmm.
And she said... If you could travel time and space in one step, would you?
Time and space?
So they can go back 50 years and correct the mistake and get started sooner?
I did not think about that, but they should.
I wonder if I don't trust Rebecca Yarros.
So, as an intrinsic, can he read Wyvern and Venom as well?
That is a good thought. You would think that, if you have a signet, it should work on Wyvern Well, do the wyvern have thoughts? They are just animated rocks. But the venom, at least.
Are they?
I think, I'm so glad you brought that up, because after rereading this section, when they find the stones that are in the bodies of the dead wyvern, and they note that it's an onyx stone, which, how funny that the third book is called Onyx Storm, an onyx stone, and it has runes on it, and I realized in that moment, oh, this is a reanimated dragon. I don't know how I didn't realize that, but it's gotta be. Like, it's a zombie dragon.
But is it? Because they're different they have different physiology. 2 legs instead of 4.
That's true. But I don't know. I was thinking, my thought was, at the end, when Jack kills his dragon as sort of this terrible sacrifice, my thought was, is this how they're making wyvern? They're killing their dragons and then doing something to them that reanimates them and they are reborn in a different way. I didn't think about the fact that they do look different, but
They also don't all have dragons.
And don't
True.
you have one person that controls multiple wyvern?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or why? Okay, is it wyvern or wyvern?
I don't know.
Either way.
In my mind, I say
Potato,
wyvern,
patata.
but I think either is fine.
Okay.
Tomato, tomato.
Yeah, I think either is good. Yeah,
Okay.
that's fair. They don't all have dragons, but if they have baby dragons,
Oh,
if they have
That-
a hatchery,
Yeah. I mean, that is an interesting thought of like how, I mean, they bring it up a lot. How do they make these wyvern? Where are they hatching?
Yeah.
Are they hatching?
I
So-
don't know. It's weird. It does, but really though, the onyx stone made me think this is not a living creature. This is a reanimated creature.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The onyx stone actually reminded me of the first time they went to the wardstone. They thought it was onyx.
Uh-huh.
And it too has runes carved into it. So I was wondering if this was a mini wardstone. And maybe it's not onyx, maybe it's iron. But
Well, that's possible.
with the different runes in it, reanimating or creating or whatever. But it is, like, I never thought about the fact that the wyvern's bodies don't disappear once the stone loses its power.
Yeah.
So are they creating them out of nothing? Or are they using things like dragons and maybe griffins or some kind of magical thing to transform them?
Yeah.
Especially since it's interesting that they have the blue fire ones, the green fire
Mhm.
ones, and now the cherry red fire ones.
Mm-hmm.
so like the other dragon nests.
That's, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's different
I-
species in a way.
Sorry, I just thought, what if one of them had brown fire? It'd be like diarrhea.
Not Brittany losing it over the idea of the brown fire.
I'm sorry.
Back to us talking about the wardstone. So we know that it doesn't work the first time they try to imbue it and make it ward. But I noted that, so in the moment that they do it, they have Suri and her dragon is the brown dragon. But Riddick could replace Suri as the brown in this lineup. So that would mean Sigale is the blue one, Taryn is the black, Suri or Riddick is the brown, Dane, his dragon is red, Brennan has an orange dragon, Imogen also has an orange dragon, which I didn't realize until the end of this book. And then Andarna. That's all of the dragon colors.
What about blue? Who's blue?
Sigale.
Is that
Xaden.
oh
Yeah,
oh
Sig.
Xaden.
Mhm.
Yeah.
My only problem with that is that Violet ends up being 2 of the colors, which is fine. But in my mind, there should be another black.
There is a theory that the reason why it's the first 6 is because one of the first 6 bonded 2 dragons.
You know, that is fair. I could see that. And that would also, again, mirror Violet. And I would like that theory. I like that.
Yeah.
I did want to note that, and I brought this up kind of a little bit earlier, but Taryn is just as betrayed as Violet is about the intrinsic reveal
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. And Sigale does bare her throat to him.
Which is nice. However, I do feel bad for Taryn.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, what the fuck? I thought we agreed, you know? But it is very similar to Xaden and Violet.
What if somebody overheard and then got her rider killed?
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. I understand.
Anyway, well, back to the meeting with Melgren.
Ah, yes.
They deliver a note right after the attack from the Wyvern. How did they know when the attack happened, or, you know, where it happened, where U-boat was to deliver that message?
That's a good question. How are they communicating again?
Can he see other people's battles?
But
Not the rebellion.
The marked ones would stop his signet.
That's right.
Or most of the rebellion they can't see, I assume, because of the marked ones.
Yeah. All they need is 3. And it makes you wonder, did the Venin tell them? Because somebody in that group is working with the Venin?
It's that, or somebody has a crazy signet we do not know about.
That's true. What if one of the Venin has the same signet as Melgren?
Yeah. I don't know.
There's a heading in there where it was like, we think that becoming Venin makes one of your senses super heightened because nobody could see through the darkness that Venin used to kill King What's-His-Face. And I was like,
King What's-His-Face?
Shadow.
Let's get technical here.
Shadow signet? Like the Venin probably had a shadow signet
Yeah.
of some sort, much like Xaden, who is now Venin.
It'll be okay.
But also, Melgren said, I had so many questions about this meeting. He goes in and he tells them all, you know, we're going to have this battle at Samara, we're going to lose. And they bring up, why do you think we let her go? You're proud of that? What we had to do to the civilians? And then he like cuts off. I'm like, what the fuck did you do to the civilians?
Right?
Did you kill them?
Yeah. I mean, it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder. Did they Men in Black them?
Yeah, right there. That's your proof that you are not a good person. You are not the good guy in this. If you have to kill civilians in order to keep your secret, to keep your country safe, I mean, unless they have somebody else like Imogen who can erase memories.
But see, this is what
think
I don't understand about this, is the fact that, because they keep saying that magic demands balance. And yet Melgren constantly uses his for nefarious reasons and letting life die because of using his signet. So how is it that there is no sort of balance that kicks in to combat that for him?
What do you mean they're using his signet?
Well, and using his signet to see how battles are going to go, he will maybe let civilians die, or they will set things up so that they can be like, oh, look, this is happening, knowing how it will go anyways, so that they can keep all of their precious power and all of their secrets. And he's not using his signet for good. He's not using his signet for what it was, I think, really intended for. He's just a creepy, evil little bastard. So how is he not getting some comeuppance from the magic world?
So when they talk about magic being in balance, I think it's to do with the amount of power, not how you use it. So like there's humans and Venin. And the more you channel from the source, the more you become Venin or whatever. The balance is that you lose your eyes turn red, your veins are distended, you lose your soul, stuff like that. Whereas the balance for humans is you only get this much power and you can't use any more.
The balance for Melgren would be that he can't see the rebellion. He can't see the relics.
That's
also because of the relic thing. But I feel like
but
when you look at good versus evil, it's going to be human versus Venin, not like Jack would have been on the human side. Even though he's an evil person, he could use his signet in any way. He's still human. So that would put him on the human versus venin side.
Well, I said that because Melgren's signet, if he was able to see everything, it would be too powerful. So, like, something had to balance him out.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's not just human versus venin, evil versus good. You can't have all the power based on what you're given. There has to be someone who can counter you.
Yeah.
And there's probably always an opposite that's born. Think about Dane and Imogen. He can read your memories. She can erase them. It's not quite pure opposite, but...
Agreed.
Yeah. And that one quick, tiny question. Why is it that Lilith has such poor control over her signet?
What do you mean?
She's emotional.
Right. But at her level, at her age, and at her, I mean, she's a general. She should have excellent control, and yet we see her constantly losing control.
Maybe so.
Maybe she can't control it when it's about her children. Because those are the only times we see her lose it is when she's so angry. Or maybe she's even doing it on purpose. She's so angry at Atos that she frosts over the days.
Yeah.
I think it's intentional. I mean, I think it's fair that she has emotional reactions and we see the result of them. Like in the battle at the end, they're talking about like, hey, can you get your mom to like get rid of the clouds? I think she's doing the clouds intentionally so that Violet can wield better.
Yeah.
And even when they ask her multiple times, she doesn't let up because she wants Violet to be able to wield. But I understand that there's also a possibility that she's just emotional.
There's also Melgren's vision. So he has this vision that they're going to be overrun on Solstice Day, which I would like to point out that Jack pointed out in book 1 that he can't tell when the battle happens. So how the fuck did he know it was on Solstice? Anyway, but he just has this, we're going to lose. And the only way I can think of to change the battle is to introduce all the rebels to this battle. But why not think about the vision quite literally in a different way? Okay, so if the venin come and overrun, that means the wards are down. So how do you safeguard the wards? You put guards around it. If your vision doesn't change after that, there has to be some other way they're bringing the wards down. How do you bring the wards down elsewhere and not have it at Samara? Like, strategically think these things through. They had to have the same map that Violet used to figure out what was going to happen.
I agree. And I think that's part of the reason that Brennan probably is instantly like, I'm not going to trust this motherfucker. Oh, he's just going to come to us and ask for our help? Well, 1, how fucking funny. And 2, why should we trust them? And he has every reason to think that. Now, I personally think that Violet was right, in wanting to help people and, come back and fight. But I do not trust Melgren, nor do I trust that that's what he saw.
I agree. There had to have been something.
Yep.
Otherwise, okay, so if I saw that we're going to be overrun at Samara, and this is weeks before the actual battle.
Right.
That's when you start moving out your civilians into because they supposedly think the wards are going to rebound to their natural barrier. You move your civilians, you move your people, and you change the location of the battle. If you're not going to win, you change the location of the battle. You might have to give up some ground. Yeah, you might have to give up some ground, but change something drastically.
Maybe he just would rather put Violet and Xaden in the front. He just wants to. It's a good way to get them out of the fucking way. Like, oh, woe is us, we need help. You're the only one that can save us. And then they go to the front and they have to lose lives. Like, he's taking care of the rebellion by putting the rebellion at the forefront of the venin.
Yeah.
I get that. It just logically doesn't make sense if you actually think you're going to lose a battle.
No, I agree. I'm agreeing with you as well.
anything else to add about his vision?
Mm-mm.
No.
I want to know how Lilith got Lyra's journal.
Yeah, she had to have a buddy help her get that.
Could her husband have given
yeah.
it to her before? Oh, no.
No.
You mean after? Maybe Nolan felt
Yeah.
bad and gave it to her.
Because Varys says that he read it, for one, and I'm sorry, but Violet can't read this, but you can. And two, that he sent it back to the king's vault. And Lilith was in Chaldea at this time. So how did she get it? How did she intercept it? Did somebody intercept it for her?
Yeah.
Somebody had to either have gone in there or somebody stopped it from going back to the vault.
Yes.
And I could believe that it's Nolan. I could believe that. I don't think he's entirely a bad guy. He's infuriating for that reason.
Yeah, I think he's just in a little bit of essence like Dane, where he's like, well, the rules are the rules. And
Yeah.
you broke the rules.
I mean, yes and no. He feels like a coward. Like he's doing it because he's scared of Varys. And he wants to be the good one, I guess, for them. I don't know. I'm a little offended for Dane.
To me, he's the epitome of I was just following orders.
Yes. Yeah. Which, I mean, to an extent, Dane
that's
is
what
too,
I mean.
but I don't think Dane would have actually gone to the lengths of getting somebody killed for it.
Dane proved himself not that guy whenever he helped Violet and stabbed Varys.
Well, not even that, but when he said no to Varys, when Varys wanted him to take her secrets, and he said no.
Yeah. Although he used the rules to say no.
Technically.
He didn't say, I can't do this because it's wrong.
Technically.
Did you want to bring up the dragon policy of killing each other?
Oh, I mean, I didn't know if it was honestly that important as we were kind of talking. I really didn't know if that was as important. It was just something that I had thought of in reading that. Because then when Andarna kills Solus and Tyrion's like, and then you think, okay, well then would a dragon really kill it? Like when Tyrion puts his, before obviously Solus dies, when he puts his teeth on Solus and starts to bite in, would they really kill another dragon over humans? I know Tyrion would.
I don't think it was about them. I'm confused. What do you mean by would they kill another dragon over humans?
Well, because when they have that meeting and the one side of dragons is trying to be intimidating to the rebellion side of dragons, and in that, would they really actually start killing each other over humans, over their quarrel?
I do think that they would kill each other.
I think honestly, if you look at it as the dragons are the people and the people are the pets, I would kill if somebody tried to kill my cat.
And I would. And I feel that same way too. But I just thought, I guess it made me go back to Tyrion's response when Andarna killed Solus. It seemed kind of out of place that it would be that big of a deal that she killed another dragon, especially in that, like, why she killed him.
I think what he was saying was that it's a burden. Like, say you kill somebody out of self-defense. A lot of people feel burdened by the fact that they killed another person. And he's more worried that she now has to bear that burden when he was like, I should have done it.
Okay. I thought he was worried about that, but also thought he was worried about, not really worried because he said it was justified, but just the fact that that is a huge thing, but that it may have just been the burden to her. So, yeah, it wasn't really that big of a deal.
I also understand, Christy, where you're coming from, because the first time he said Slayer, I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It does make you feel like, is she in trouble?
Yeah. It just seemed a lot
but
bigger.
I think they just messing with us.
Was he just...
Yaro's just messing
Tyrion's
with us.
being dramatic again, Yeah.
I could blaze him where he stands. I could roast him, but you seem fond of him, so.
Yeah. The wardstone in Eratia. So everybody comes to the rescue. I was a little disappointed that Brennan stayed behind, and I'm so happy that he showed up later, but the fact that
Yeah.
assembly
Coward.
was like,
Yes.
yeah, the assembly was like, oh, well, you wouldn't come to our aid, so we're just gonna let you suffer the consequences, which I get that thought, but
Yeah.
also when you're thinking war strategically, if you let the Venom take over Navarre,
Yeah.
you're just
Yeah.
creating a stronger enemy.
I agree with you, actually.
Yeah.
But they go and try to stop Jack from breaking the ward. And they say that the ward is twice the size of the one in Erasia. And it has these interlocking diamond pattern between the runes.
Which makes me wonder if that means it's stronger, or if it's like another way of connecting the runes to be, I don't know. There's something to that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It makes me wonder what will be different when or if they ever get the wards up in Erasia. Will they not cover, I mean, will it
Right.
not cover enough area, or
Right.
what is that diamond pattern doing? Does that make it able to be stretched?
It's a good question.
Battle ensues. We get the Battle of Basgiath. There are hordes and hordes and hordes of wyvern and venom. Speaking about Bade in there after Jack kills Bade, and
Which makes me sad.
Yeah, me too.
It makes
Yeah.
me so sad because, like, I don't know Bade. I don't think Bade's evil.
Mm-mm.
Bade didn't
Same.
deserve that.
He's probably like a little
Same.
teddy bear. He
But
just wanted love.
Just ended up with fucking Jack
Mhm.
Barlow.
Jack kills Bade. His blood spurts onto the wardstone, and like the power goes out. Is it the sacrifice, the death, that made the wardstone go out?
I'm so
Or
glad
is
you
it
brought this up.
the blood?
I was also very confused by what happens here and I think I was confused last time as well. What does Jack do that causes this? Is it the killing of the dragon? What is it?
Because if it's just a little dragon blood, I mean, like there's a hole that any dragon could fly by and accidentally bleed on it. That seems like a liability.
Are we supposed to assume he did something before they got there?
I thought it was more
That's
that he killed the connection between him and his dragon, and he survived. That whatever he did in that moment is what shut that off.
Interesting.
You mean
I find
that's what ended the ward?
Yeah.
I think that it's definitely symbolic, but I don't know if that's what caused the ward to stop.
I find it interesting, like, how did they know how to break this ward to begin with? It's the only
Yeah.
ward they've ever had.
Yeah, but you said the Venom are like 600 years old. So,
Yeah, but this is the first and only ward they've ever had, so it's the first time they've had to encounter it ever in all of history.
well, what if some of the Venom are part of the original 6 and they know what it took to bring it up?
Oh,
That
what a
could be.
theory. That's a theory. That's a theory.
That is actually a theory that I was going to bring up in Onyx Day. So we will definitely talk more about that.
I definitely think that's reasonable. I could see that. That's cool.
All right, so Bade has bad breath.
Oh, yeah.
Solus has bad breath. There's one other dragon that has bad breath, and they're all, well, 2 oranges and 1 red, and 2 of them, we theorize they're being controlled by the venom, and so a lot of people think that dragons with bad breath symbolize venom-controlled dragons.
What's the other dragon?
Kath, Dane's dragon.
Oh, that'd be terrible. That would be terrible.
Oh.
I don't want to think that.
Yeah.
I don't want to think that. I really don't want to think that. I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
No to that theory. I reject it.
So, with the whole power thing, I mean, that was and what I was talking about when I was saying that the Venom are like a giant pyramid scheme. And it really is, because the way they explained it was almost like, well, you know, you get your 2 little people that give you power, and then I'm going to get some extra power, and then they're going to get some people, and they'll give you that more power, and then I'll get even. I mean, it was like a giant fucking pyramid scheme. So if that were the case, if they take dragons, I mean, that'd be a little maybe extra energy. But I was like, who the fuck is their leader? You know?
Yeah, they got a weird hierarchy system going on.
Yeah, they're having like little Avon meetings for like, Venice.
If you sell this much.
I actually looked at it as like a military hierarchy.
I think it's supposed to be, yeah.
The initiates are cadets. ASIMs are lieutenants.
Broader argument, military hierarchy is actually
a
pyramid scheme.
I mean...
Maybe? Anyways.
Yeah,
okay.
So their mavens would be at the top.
Yeah, mavens at the top. I did have a question, though.
Okay.
So there's a point in the... It might be whenever they're with Jack. I can't remember where this is in... Is it chapter 60? Where they're talking about how Jack is the reason they developed the serum. What the fuck is his signet? What is his signet that they had to take it out of him? They had to get rid of it.
Did they say that Jack was the reason?
Yes.
I don't remember them explicitly saying it.
They did, because I remember being like, what do you mean? Violet theorizes that that's the reason that they created the serum, because they had to keep him at bay.
Yeah. I mean, I remember thinking the same thing, so I might have just skipped over it this time.
So what is it? We still don't know, even by the end of this book. And it's kind of implied, well, when she's sparring him, we think, oh, he's using his signet, but maybe not. Maybe he's using his venom energy or whatever. So I'm very confused, and it just shocked me when she said that, because I don't remember reading that the first time about the serum.
Yeah. I mean, she does theorize that the power on the mat was actually him channeling.
Right.
And not an actual signet.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would really, 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 really like to know what his signet is.
Is it an Onyx Storm?
No.
So it's got to be major.
You got to be kidding me.
It has to be something
You got to
huge.
be kidding
What if
me.
he is like the distance time wielder or whatever it is?
That
Dude,
would be bad.
No, for real. Or a Sound Seeker?
Yep.
I gotta know. What the fuck? It's not an Onyx Storm? You know it's gonna be a big one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is freaking me out. Okay. Oh my god.
Damn it. I can't even Google it.
I'm itchy. I'm itchy with anticipation. What the fuck? Okay. This is huge. Anyways, we can move on. I'm so like, what? That's crazy.
I have a few things to say about the battle, but really I want to say the main thing about the actual battle is Melgren is a little bitch for trying to just run away from this battle and let everybody die.
Agreed.
That's how people like him work. They talk a big game, but when it really comes down to putting your ass on the line, they don't.
Especially when Violet is literally right there going, I have the answer to save us all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that Violet and Rhiannon are so cool in this battle. Everyone does great. I'm not saying anyone doesn't. But Vi and Rhi together,
yeah,
so good. Yeah. It's a fun set of chapters when they're fighting.
And I said that she should get an A in torture class after having 5 days of Varish.
Yeah.
She also should get an A for running landing. But
100%.
She passed that qualification or that requirement. Move on. She doesn't need to do it again.
And I really hope they do more with Rhiannon in subsequent books. Like, we see more from her.
Yeah, I do too. And I think I will say her signet was perfect for this fight. Because they're like, oh, Rhiannon's gonna be the one that's moving the daggers around, making sure that everyone's... Why are you making faces?
Me?
No, Brittany.
It's not really a spoiler.
Oh gosh.
But remember how I said that there are 4 narrators in Onyx Storm?
She gets a narrator?
Oh, yay!
That's a fun spoiler.
Yes, I like that. I like that. I'm happy.
That actually thrills me.
Good.
So much. I'm so happy to have more Rhi. But yeah, I was thrilled with the way that Rebecca Yarros uses her signet, because it's so smart. Ugh.
Yes. And I love the fact that when Violet does her running dismount, that Riddick is literally like...
He's like aghast. Like, what the fuck?
Or Taryn's
You can't do that.
Taryn's like, what the hell are you doing?
He's like, you're supposed to stay in the saddle.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you? I'm where I'm supposed to be, unlike you.
And even better,
Somebody say that they fight like one mind, her and Taryn.
Oh, I see what you're
And
saying.
it's the Gale that
I
says...
don't remember that, but probably.
Yeah, there's...
Oh, she says that Violet is thinking like Taryn at a certain point in the book.
I love that.
Yes. Brilliant. I also love that when she does that run and jump, it's in order to save Sawyer, and she runs and jumps on Sawyer's dragon, which is like bold to say the least.
Well, she jumps on Riddick's dragon.
Oh my god.
Goes to the wyvern and then
right, yeah.
And then it's like, please don't eat me.
Yeah. And it's like, girl,
please?
what are you doing? What are you doing?
Can you?
And then when she gets to him and he's unfortunately he's lost his leg, which is, I know is going to have a huge part in Onyx Storm because the fucking wyvern ate it. So that's not coming back.
It will, eventually.
You think he's going to grow another one like a lizard?
I don't know.
Oh my
I'm talking
gosh,
about
okay,
him
so-
shitting it out.
Yeah, I was going to say, so
Maybe they can
when
dig it out
they
like a
say-
ring. Put it back on.
I was going to say, when they say they can't mend it because they don't have the leg anymore.
Yeah.
But
Just wait a
all
few
the
days.
wyvern died. They just need to cut it out.
Guys, this is not okay. This is not an okay train of thought.
They just need to cut open the wyvern, get the leg out, and then Brennan can mend it back
Hose
together.
it off a little.
I'm gonna, you know what? That's fair. That's fair. However, I'm gonna take at least in Christy's situation, if it's gonna be a shitty leg, like literally shitty, I don't think Sawyer needs it. We can get him a new one.
The wyvern's dead. He can't shoot it out.
He might.
Exactly.
Functions have to go. I mean, seriously, otherwise the amount of people that they eat, they would fill up and burst. So it's got to
a
go
lot of people
somewhere.
do. I hate to break this to you. A lot of people do shit when they die. So
Yeah, that's true.
you never know. The wyvern could shit out that leg.
What if the wyvern shit out the leg and it kicks somebody in the head?
I can't even believe that I just said that with a straight face. Anyway, back to the fact that Sawyer almost dies, which she also likes to fake out with Riddick for us, and I was mad that she did that. But she tells Malik that he cannot have Sawyer because he already has Liam, and that would be one too many. And I thought that was a very sweet moment that I totally forgot about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wanted to point it out. Also, the fact that she's still very consistently talking to the gods. And again, I just can't believe I overlooked it the first time I read these books.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can't wait to see where that goes.
Well, there was actually a comment earlier on when they're going with Melgren, and I think, Brittany, it was you that wrote it out, that it was when he tells them that Malik's going to meet him for his crimes.
Oh, yeah. And Xaden's like, we already tried that. He refused me. What the fuck does that mean?
I'm glad you brought that up because when I read that, I was like, this is a joke, but also what?
Mm-hmm. Or any of us, yeah.
I think, again, we're supposed to think, oh, well, Xaden almost died a couple times, but he's fine. But we know at this point, Rebecca Yarros will just say shit and put the hint in front of our face. Mm-hmm. And we just will miss it. And so, yeah, it's a fair thing to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
All right. Well, real quick, I wanted to talk about some of our favorite scenes. My favorite in this section, other than the action scenes, is them sitting on the roof where she's like, oh, we might get 7 inches tonight. And Zane's like, maybe more if you're good.
Brittany.
I'm sorry. It screams good girl.
It does.
It's good girl coded.
That is a hot picture of him, yes.
Yes. And I did like
I'm trying to think
in the cave when she says, I can't remember what Kat was saying, but Violet's like, if I thought I was going to kill you, I'd hand it to Kat.
Yeah, oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you wrote that one down too, because I loved that. Yes.
And then
I did have a question. Oh, go ahead. I was going to ask you about the Riddick and Marin thing. So you did.
Okay, so I'm gushing over them. I would like a Riddick and Marin coupling.
I totally missed any interactions between them in the book. I must have missed
Did
whatever.
they interact?
Some, yeah.
Because I did too. But also, I'm liking the idea.
There was a couple. Yeah, they had a couple interactions, and it was like super cute. And I feel like Marin gets Riddick, so I feel like this could be.
I like them both, and I would not be against their coupling.
Same.
I think it would be great. Although Riddick he's like LGBTQ. He's into men.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't really be unhappy if he ended up with a guy.
Yeah.
But like Sawyer?
Like
Sawyer and
Brennan,
Jasenia.
Or I don't know. Somebody.
Brennan.
Not
Not
Sawyer.
Brennan.
Sawyer has
Not
Jasenia.
Brennan. He deserves somebody better than Brennan.
I mean, agreed. And also, Brennan is supposed to be tragically not over Naolin's passing, and so therefore I would never hand Riddick to Brennan.
Yeah.
But Brennan was the first person that came to mind because we know we don't know, but we suspect that he's gay.
What about Arik?
Oh, that was the drama.
The
that would
royalty
kill me.
and how wild Riddick is versus Eric's like straight and narrow
like
kind of
and
thing.
Seth.
Can you imagine the sex with that? Oh my lord!
Yes, I love it.
Yes,
Obsessed.
And in Darnus, we do not eat our allies. But they look so tasty.
Oh my god.
That's what I was going to bring up. I was like, wouldn't that be a fun little tattoo? Like if we had Andarna and then around it, we don't eat our allies or something like that. I was like, that would be so cute.
I loved that moment in the cave where she's mad at Kat and Violet's like, what does Taryn tell us? We don't eat our allies.
Yep, I love that so much. Well, I'm kind of bittersweet about us finishing the book. I say that because I'm really nervous to start Onyx Storm.
I'm excited.
I am excited, but I'm nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently in a place of familiarity, and so I'm happy with that. You know what I mean? But because we are going into unknown territory, I'm not ready.
I can't wait.
But Brittany's literally dancing.
I love watching y'all read things that I get to, sit back and watch.
And manipulate and fucking change.
Yes, it's
and
too
lead
much.
us down the wrong paths and then laugh your evil, evil laugh.
True. Thank you, Christy. Yes, agreed. Her cute little evil laugh. All right. Well, we're going to end it there. And we hope that everyone has enjoyed this season so far. We're going to be discussing Book 3, Onyx Storm, prologue through chapter 12 for the next episode. And I'm so nervous. New episodes drop every week, and don't forget to check out last season's discussion on Zodiac Academy, available now.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media. That like and follow are super important for us to continue to bring you new episodes each week, so please, please, please do so. You can also support us by joining us on Patreon. Thank you for listening to the Midnight Readers podcast. We'll see you next week.
Happy reading, listeners. Don't stay up too late.